Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are looking at a massive stack of sources today. Specifically, we have entries 701 through 800 from the Compendium of Essential English Idioms.
But we are not just going to sit here and read a list. That would be brutal.
It's boring.
Right. What we are really trying to do is understand the operating system of the English language.
I like that phrasing, the operating system.
Because idioms are not just random quirks. They are what linguists call frozen metaphors.
Frozen metaphors. Break that down for us.
Well, at some point in history, these phrases were fresh, vivid comparisons. They made perfect sense in the moment. Over time, the original context sort of faded away, but the phrase froze into a set block of...
It got locked in.
Exactly. And what is fascinating is that even though the original context might be totally lost to the average speaker today, the value system of the culture is still tracked inside that ice.
You can see what the culture cares about.
Yes. When you look at these 100 phrases as a data set, you see a lot of violence, a lot of gambling, and a huge emphasis on hierarchy.
I definitely noticed that. This specific batch, 701 to 800, it feels incredibly high stakes. We are not dealing with fluffy, poetic phrases here. We are dealing with power, deception, survival, and really extreme emotions.
It is a very intense slice of the lexicon.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to thaw out these frozen metaphors. We're going to look at the history, like why do we actually say these things?
Right.
And more importantly, we are going to look at the nuance of how to use them without sounding like you just memorized a textbook.
Because nobody wants to sound like a textbook.
Nobody. So instead of going numerically from 1 to 100, we have grouped this batch into 4 main life situations. We've got the workplace, the truth detector, the danger zone, and the human condition.
And by the end of this hour, I want you to not just know what stealing someone's thunder means, but to know the 300-year-old theater drama that actually caused it.
Because once you know the story, you never forget the phrase.
Never. It sticks with you forever.
I love the drama. So let's jump right into the first category, which honestly dominates this entire list, the workplace.
Let's get to work.
Scanning through these idioms, I was really struck by how aggressive the language of business is. It is not really about cooperation at all. It is about dominance.
Yeah, the modern office is basically described as a battlefield.
Totally. Let's start with the hierarchy. We have phrase 715, which is run the show, and then we have phrase 776, which is top dog.
These are two very different ways of looking at power, aren't they?
They really are. How would you separate them?
Well, run the show it's theatrical. It implies that the workplace is a production. There are lights, actors, and audience, but there is one person, the director or the producer, who's running the show.
It sounds organized.
Very. It suggests competence and orchestration. It is a fairly civilized way to describe a boss. It implies control over a complex, moving system.
But top dog is less civilized.
Top dog is feral.
Feral. I love that.
It really is. Now, most people just assume this comes from wolf packs, the alpha male leading the pack. And that is certainly how it is used today. It is about raw dominance.
But there is another theory, right?
Yes. There is a competing theory about the origin that I find absolutely fascinating. It comes from the lumber industry. Specifically, it comes from saw pits.
Saw pits, like cutting down trees.
Well, cutting the trees into usable wood. Before we had industrial sawmills, you had 2 men using a massive 2-man saw to cut a giant log into planks.
Oh, I've seen pictures of those. The saws are huge.
Right. So one man stood on top of the log, pulling the saw up. The other man stood down in a pit underneath the log, pulling the saw down.
All right.
The guy standing on top was called the top dog, and the guy standing in the pit was the underdog.
Oh, wow. That adds so much color. Because the guy on the bottom is literally getting covered in sawdust the entire time.
Precisely. The underdog is getting all the debris in his eyes. He is doing the really awkward physical work, and he has a terrible view. So when you call someone the top dog, you are acknowledging that they have the better view, they have the control, and they are not the ones eating the dust.
That is a very vivid picture of workplace inequality.
It really is.
And if you are that top dog, you want a specific type of employee working for you. You want someone who is looking at number 718 on our list, second to none.
Ah, yes. That is the ultimate superlative.
It really leaves no room for debate.
It is an absolute... If you are second to none, there's literally no one ahead of you. If you are writing a performance review, this is the gold standard phrase. It is succinct. It is a binary state. You are either second to none or you weren't.
Now compare that to number 758, the best of the bunch.
That is a bit softer, isn't it?
It feels almost agricultural.
Right. You are at the market looking at a bunch of apples or bananas, and you pick the best one out of that specific group.
So it implies that the bunch itself might actually be mediocre.
Exactly. You might just be the best of a bad situation. Second to none is global dominance. Best of the bunch is local dominance. It is essentially a big fish in a small pond scenario.
That is a crucial distinction for anyone writing a recommendation letter. Got to make sure you use the right one.
Definitely.
Now let's talk about the action part of work. You cannot just be the best, you have to actually perform. This list is obsessed with the exact moment of taking action. Look at number 741. Step up to the plate.
Pure Americana. You really cannot understand American business English without understanding baseball.
It's everywhere.
It is. Stepping up to the plate is that moment of high visibility. You leave the safety of the dugout, you walk to home plate, everyone in the stadium is watching you. It is the transition from being passive to being active.
It really implies a willingness to accept risk.
It does. You might strike out, you might fail completely, but the credit goes to the person who at least stepped up. In a corporate meeting, if someone asks for a volunteer for a tough project and you say, "I will do it," you are stepping up to the plate.
You are making yourself vulnerable to failure for the sake of the team.
Exactly.
There's a similar energy to number 753, which is take the wheel. But the context feels a bit different.
It is different. This one is much more about crisis management or navigation. If a ship or a car is drifting, it has no direction. It is dangerous.
Right.
So to take the wheel is to assume physical control of the trajectory. It is very common in leadership transition. You might hear someone say, well, since Sarah left the company, John has really taken the wheel.
It implies the project was completely rudderless before John stepped in.
Yes. It suggests that there was a void in leadership and someone had to physically grab the steering mechanism to save everyone.
Let's shift from the leaders to the worker bees. The people down in the saw pit, we have a phrase right at the top of our source list, number 701, pull someone's weight.
This is one of those idioms that keeps human society functioning.
It is foundational.
It really is. It likely comes from rowing or sailing. Imagine you are on a massive galley with 20 oars. If you are just holding your oar and letting it drag in the water, but you are not actually pulling, you are dead weight.
You are actively making it harder for everyone else. Yes, you are increasing the drag. So it is an accusation about fairness.
Deeply. When you look at a colleague and tell them to pull their weight, you are not just saying, hey, work harder. You are saying you are violating the basic social contract of this team. We are carrying you.
That is a heavy critique. It really attacks their integrity.
It does.
And if you are pulling your weight, you are probably doing number 728, sinking your teeth into the work.
It is so visceral, right?
It turns a spreadsheet into a steak.
Exactly. It implies a real hunger or a zest for the task. You are not just nibbling at the edges of the project. You are devouring it. You are fully engaged. It suggests an aggressive, almost predatory enthusiasm for your job.
But what happens when that project fails? Because in business, failure is pretty much inevitable.
Sadly, yes.
We have two phrases here that I think people confuse all the time. Number 739 is start from scratch, and number 737 is square one. Are these just exact synonyms?
They are used interchangeably a lot, but they actually have very different emotional flavors.
Okay, tell me about start from scratch.
Start and scratch is originally a sporting term from cricket or running. A literal line was scratched into the dirt to mark the starting. But in modern usage, it is heavily associated with cooking. You know, I made this cake from scratch.
Right. It implies using raw ingredients.
Exactly. So if a business project fails and you say, okay, we need to start from scratch, there is still a sense of building. You have the flour and the eggs, which are your ideas and your team, and you are just mixing them together again in a new way. It feels constructive.
You are the creator in that scenario.
Yes.
Whereas square one.
Square one is just frustrating. It comes from board games. Think of snakes and ladders or chutes and ladders. You rolled the dice, you moved up the board, you made actual progress.
But then you hit the snake.
And you slide all the way back down to the very beginning. Back to square one emphasizes the loss of progress. It feels like a penalty. You are not choosing to start over with fresh ingredients. The game forced you back.
That is such a helpful nuance to understand. Scratch is about the act of creating. Square one is about your position on the board.
Perfect summary.
Now, in the modern workplace, we rarely just do one thing anyway, which brings us to number 794. Wear many hats.
The ultimate multitasking mantra.
I feel like every job description says this now. Must be willing to wear many hats.
Because roles are so fluid now, you put on your accounting hat for an hour, then you physically take that off and put on your marketing hat. It acknowledges that you are switching your cognitive focus. It is very common in startups where you just don't have the luxury of being a specialist.
But of course, with all that work comes the stuff we universally hate. The bureaucracy.
Oh, yes.
Number 709. Red tape. I feel like this one is used so often that we completely forget it is even a metaphor.
We really do. And the history here is surprisingly literal. If you go back to the 16th or 17th century in England and Spain, official legal documents and royal decrees were literally rolled up and bound together with red fabric tape or a red ribbon.
So to even read the document, you had to cut the tape.
You had to cut it or untie it. If you had a massive stack of documents on your desk, you had a literal mountain of red tape to get through before you could actually do your job.
It became the universal symbol for administrative delay.
And it is amazing that 400 years later, when everything is digital, we still use the exact same image to describe government inefficiency. It is a very persistent annoyance.
And once you finally hack your way through all that red tape, you usually have to do number 727. Sign on the dotted line.
The moment of no return. What is interesting is that legal documents don't always actually have a dotted line. Sometimes it is just a solid line. But the symbol of the dotted line represents the finality of the contract. It is the absolute boundary between negotiation and legal obligation.
And then finally, things start moving. We get to number 757, the ball is rolling. Or remember 784, up and running.
The ball is rolling is all about momentum and physics. It takes a ton of effort to start a heavy ball move, but once it is rolling, it kind of sustains itself. Up and running is more mechanical. It implies a machine or a complex system that was either broken or being built is finally...
You know, it is a complete narrative arc when you put them all together. You step up to the plate, you pull your weight, you cut the red tape, and you get the ball rolling.
If you can weave those together naturally in a meeting, you sound like a corporate poet.
A corporate poet. I like that. But, as we know, corporate poets can also be massive liars.
Unfortunately true.
Which brings us nicely to our second section today, the truth detector.
Honesty, deception, and all the gray areas in between.
The English language seems to have a lot of really creative ways to tell someone, hey, you are lying to me. Let's look at number 702. Pull the wool over someone's eyes.
This is a classic. It means to deceive someone, to keep them totally in the dark about what is...
But why wool? Are we talking about sheep here?
We are actually talking about fashion.
Fashion?
Yes. In the 18th and 19th centuries, the word wool was often used as slang for hair. Specifically, it referred to the powdered wigs that were very fashionable for men and, crucially, that judges wore in court.
Oh, I see where this is going.
Right. So if you were a thief standing trial and you literally pulled the judge's massive wig down over his eyes, he couldn't see you. You could escape the courtroom. So pulling the wool over his eyes meant blinding authority so you could get away with your scheme.
That is so much more specific than just tricking someone. It implies actively blinding the victim to reality.
It does. It is aggressive deception. You are disabling their ability to perceive the truth.
Now contrast that aggressive deception with number 799, a white lie.
This is the complete other end of the spectrum. We tend to color code our morality in English.
What do you mean by color code?
Well, a black lie would be malicious. It is harmful. It is intended to destroy or hide a crime. A white lie is intended to preserve social harmony.
Like saying, yes, this dinner is delicious, even when it is awful.
Exactly. Or, no, you don't look tired at all. It is definitely deception, but it is socially sanctioned deception. We consider it harmless or white, like a blank, clean page.
And then we have the people who just lie because they don't know what they're talking about. Number 754, talk through your hat.
I love the visual of this one. It means to talk absolute nonsense or to speak with total authority on a subject you actually know nothing about.
But where does the hat come in?
It is likely a distortion of a few older ideas. One is that men used to hold their hats in front of their faces to mask what they were saying. Another is the idea that the words are just coming out of the top of your head where the hat sits, rather than from your actual brain.
Oh, that makes sense.
It implies bluster. If someone is pontificating about complex economic policy, but they have never even taken an economics class, they are talking through their hat. It suggests empty-headedness.
So those are the deceivers. How do we actually catch them? We need to be detectives. Let's look at number 732. Smell a rat.
This phrase is purely instinctual. Notice it is not see a rat, it is smell a rat. The nose is often considered our most primal, ancient sense.
It bypassed logic entirely.
Exactly. You enter a situation, maybe it is a new business deal or a new relationship, and everything looks totally fine on the surface. The paperwork is clean, but your gut, your nose, tells you something is rotting underneath the floorboard. You are detecting the invisible decay of this.
It is that deep, unshakable suspicion. And once you smell the rat, you have to start doing number 705. Put 2 and 2 together.
Deductive reasoning at its finest. It is a math metaphor. Clue A plus clue B equals the truth.
It makes it sound so simple.
And it implies that the answer was actually obvious the whole time. You just needed to combine the variables. He came home late, and he smells like someone else's perfume. I am putting 2 and 2 together.
And if you are really, really good at reading people and putting those clues together, you get number 708. Read someone like a book.
Total transparency. Most of us walk around trying to be mysteries, right? We're trying to keep our poker faces on.
Especially at work.
Exactly. So if someone can read you like a book, your internal thoughts are basically printed in large font on your face. It suggests very high emotional intelligence on the part of the reader, or alternatively, just terrible acting on the part of the...
Before you make a big accusation, though, you should probably do number 719. See how the land lies.
Sometimes phrased as see the lay of the land. This is originally a surveying or military term. Before you charge your army into the valley, you need to know the topography. Is it swampy? Is there a huge hill? Is there an obvious spot for an ambush?
You have to know what you're walking into.
Right. In a modern conversation, it means testing the mood before you bring up a difficult topic. I wanted to ask for a raise today, but I needed to see how the land lay with my boss first. It is all about strategic awareness.
It's very smart. Now let's flip it entirely. What if we want to be the honest one in the room? The source gives us number 704. Put all your cards on the table.
We are back to gambling, back to poker.
It comes up a lot.
It does. Putting your cards on the table means you are not holding anything back. You don't have an ace hidden up your sleeve. You are showing your entire hand to everyone.
It is a big act of vulnerability.
Huge vulnerability, but also deep trust. You are saying, here's everything I know, and here's my exact position. You are completely removing the element of chance or bluffing from the interaction.
And if you operate like that consistently, people might describe you using number 745.
Yeah.
Straight as an arrow.
This one is about moral trajectory. Think about archery. An arrow that is warped or bent will not fly true to the target. It will veer off course and miss.
Right.
So a person who is straight as an arrow does not deviate into corruption or lies or shady shortcuts. They follow the straight moral path. It does imply a certain rigidity, but it is a very positive rigidity.
And my absolute favorite idiom in this truth section is number 711, ring true. As in, her apology just didn't ring true to me.
This brings us back to the physical senses again. This time, sound.
Good.
If you go back to the Middle Ages and beyond, how did you know if a coin someone handed you was actually real gold or silver and not just a cheap lead counterfeit?
Oh, I've seen this in movies. You bite it.
You could bite it, yes. But another very common method was to drop it onto a stone table. If it was pure precious metal, it would make a very clear, resonant, ringing sound.
A literal ring.
Yes. But if it was a fake, if it was what they called a clunker, it would just make a dull, flat thud.
So when we sit around today and say a story rings true, we are subconsciously acting like medieval merchants testing a coin on a table.
Exactly right. We're listening for the frequency of truth. We can intuitively hear the difference between a story that has the resonance of reality and a lie that just lands with a dull thud.
That is incredible. It really shows how deeply embedded these raw physical experiences like testing coins or sawing wood in a pit are in our abstract modern thoughts.
We carry history in our mouths every single time we speak.
We really do. And sometimes that history gets pretty dangerous. Which leads us to section 3. The danger zone.
Cue the ominous music.
Seriously, this section covers idioms 701 through 800 that specifically deal with risk, pressure, and conflict. And looking at the list, I noticed something immediately. English speakers describe stress in incredibly violent physical terms.
We absolutely do. In our language, stress is framed as an active attack on the body.
Let's look at number 747, sweat bullets.
It is such a vivid, almost surreal image, isn't it?
It is.
You are not just sweating water, you are sweating actual ammunition. It implies the sweat is heavy, it is cold, and it is hard.
It sounds painful.
It is supposed to sound painful. It is not just, oh, I just went for a run and it is hot outside. It is the cold, sharp sweat of deep anxiety. You sweat bullets when you are waiting for the jury to come back and read the verdict. Or when your spouse asks, exactly how much did you spend on that new TV?
It captures that metallic taste of fear in the back of your throat.
Exactly.
And usually you are sweating bullets because of number 760. The heat is on.
The environmental temperature is rising, the police are getting closer to the hideout, the project deadline is looming right over you. It creates a very claustrophobic thing.
And when the heat is on, you might find yourself looking at number 783, under the gun, or number 781, under fire. These sound similar, but they are different.
Both are obviously military metaphors. Under fire means you are taking actual incoming shots. You are receiving criticism, lawsuits, customer complaints. You are in a purely defensive position trying not to get hit.
Okay, and under the gun.
Under the gun is slightly different. It implies heavy coercion.
Like someone is literally holding a gun to your head.
Or simply the intense pressure of time. In a lot of workplaces, the gun is the deadline. If you do not move and move fast, you die professionally. It conveys a sense of extreme urgency that just saying, I am busy, completely fails to capture. It triggers the fight or flight response.
Now, if you try to escape that pressure, you might end up in a situation like number 730, skating on thin ice.
This is one of the most evocative nature metaphors we have in English, because everyone universally understands the physics of ice.
If it is thick, you are safe to walk on it.
Right. But if it is thin, one wrong move, one step that is just a little too heavy, and you plunge through into freezing water.
It emphasizes how precarious the situation is.
Yes. And it also emphasizes that extreme caution is required. You cannot stomp around and make noise when you are on thin ice. You have to glide very carefully. It suggests that the environment itself has become completely hostile to your presence.
But some people don't glide carefully at all. Some people actually like to cause the ice to break. Which brings us to number 714, rub someone the wrong way.
We are back to animal metaphors here. Think of petting a cat, or even running your hand over a piece of velvet. If you stroke it in the direction of the grain, it is perfectly smooth and peaceful. But if you rub it the wrong way against the grain, it is rough, the fur sticks up, and the cat will probably bite you.
So rubbing someone the wrong way implies a friction that might not even be completely intentional.
Exactly. You might just have a personality that naturally clashes with theirs. You are not actively trying to be annoying, but your texture opposes their texture.
Unlike number 744, stir up trouble.
Oh, that is very intentional. That is the person holding the big wooden spoon, standing over the pot of social harmony, and mixing it up just to watch the chaos swirl around. That person is the agitator.
Or the person who does number 770, throw your weight around.
This connects directly back to what we talked about earlier with pull your weight.
Right. Pulling your weight is good.
Yes, when you pull, you contribute to the team. But when you throw your weight around, you are using your mass, which could be your political power, your money, your seniority at the company as a weapon. You are body-checking people out of the way.
It is the dictionary definition of a bully.
It implies using sheer physics to displace other people.
And bullies often try to do number 780, twist someone's arm.
Physical coercion, again. You hear this all the time. I really didn't want to sign the contract, but their lawyers twisted my arm.
It sounds like playground bullying.
It brings to mind exactly that. Bending a limb backward until the person screams, uncle. It is pain compliance, but used metaphorically in business or social settings.
So how do these conflicts actually end? The list gives us 3 distinct endings. Let's look at ending A, number 769, throw in the towel.
Total defeat. This comes straight from boxing, dating back to the mid-19th century. If your fighter was in the ring getting completely pummeled and he couldn't protect himself anymore, his cornerman would literally throw a physical towel into the ring.
To get the referee's attention.
Right, to signal the referee to stop the fight immediately.
It is an act of mercy, really.
It is. It is essentially saying, we surrender to save ourselves from further damage. It is a public admission that you cannot possibly win.
Then we have ending B, number 751, take it in the chin.
Also from boxing. You get punched directly in the face, it hurts immensely, you might bleed. But crucially, You do not fall down.
You absorb the blow.
Yes, you accept the bad news or the harsh criticism or the project failure with total stoicism. We lost the big account today, but we took it on the chin and we are moving on. It is a highly respected trait in both British and American culture. It shows deep resilience.
And finally, ending C, the ending we all actually want. Number 800, win hands down.
Easy victory.
Is this boxing too?
No, this one actually comes from horse racing. Usually, as a jockey approaches the finish line in a tight race, they have to keep the reins incredibly tight and use the whip to drive the horse forward.
Right.
But if you are so far ahead of the rest of the pack that there is literally no competition, you can loosen your grip, you can drop your hands down and just cruise across the finish line.
I love that. It is the image of absolute effortless dominance.
It is the feeling of deep relief. You don't have to fight or struggle anymore because you have already won the race.
Which perfectly transitions us into the feelings themselves. We have survived a workplace, we have got the liars, and we have dodged the bullets. Now we are entering section 4. The human condition.
This section is really the emotional core of the language.
When you win hands down, you probably feel like number 791. You walk on air.
Gravity simply does not apply to you. You are so buoyant with joy that you are literally floating above the ground. It perfectly captures that physical sensation of lightness that comes with extreme happiness.
You are, as number 710 says, riding high.
You are up on top of the wave, everything is going your way, though it does imply a somewhat temporary state, a peak that might eventually crash.
But right now, you feel like number 763. The sky's the limit.
Infinite potential. There is no ceiling above you. It is the ultimate idiom of optimism.
But, of course, because we are human, we also crash hard. Let's talk about frustration. Number 756, tear your hair out.
We have all been there. It is that exact moment where your computer crashes for the third time and you lose your document, or the toddler just will not stop screaming in the grocery store.
The feeling is just overwhelming.
The frustration is so intense that you want to inflict physical pain on yourself just to vent the energy. I was tearing my hair out trying to fix this code. It is a very self-destructive type of frustration.
Or maybe you face a different kind of block, like social anxiety. Number 775, tongue-tied.
The sudden inability to speak. It feels like your tongue has literally been tied into a physical knot in your mouth. This usually happens when the stakes are emotionally high. You are meeting a personal hero or you are talking to a crush. Your brain works fine, but the physical machinery of speech just completely jams.
And then there is the feeling of deep injustice. Number 725, getting the short end of the stick.
This is a fantastic idiom for unfairness. Imagine a stick. Maybe it is a walking stick, or, well, there are some slightly cruder theories about what kind of stick it actually refers to.
Oh, really? Do tell.
Well, some linguists suggest it refers to a stick that was used for personal hygiene in the days before toilet paper.
Oh, my goodness.
So if two people go to grab the stick and you end up getting the short end, which is also the dirty end, you are in a very, very bad position.
That makes the phrase so much more vivid and disgusting.
It really does. But honestly, even if you just think of two people carrying a heavy load on a pole, if you are holding the short end, you have much less leverage. It is physically harder for you.
You got the bad deal either way.
Exactly. You are doing more work for less reward.
Let's look at how we treat others with these emotions. Number 736 describes a very specific type of person, a soft touch.
This is exactly the person you want to go to when you need to ask for a loan. A soft touch is someone who is very easily persuaded, usually out of kindness or sometimes just
ask Dad for the car keys. He's a soft touch. Mom is too tough.
Perfect example. It implies a total lack of resistance to requests.
Versus someone who might do number 721, sends them packing.
That is dismissal. Brutal, direct dismissal. She showed up an hour late to the site, so I sent him packing. It implies telling them to pack all their bags and leave the premises immediately. It is a harsh exercise of authority to completely remove someone from your space.
Or someone who displays number 779, turned up your nose at something.
Pure snobbery. And it is based on a real physical gesture. Think about it. If you smell something genuinely rotten, you naturally lift your head and pull your nose up and away from it.
To avoid the smell.
Right. So when you turn up your nose at a job offer because the salary is too low, or you turn your nose up at a cheap meal, you are signaling that it is entirely beneath you. It metaphorically stinks to you. It is a highly visual display of some rejection.
And what is the antidote to all that arrogance? Number 790, walk in someone's shoes.
The ultimate empathy idiom. The idea is that you cannot possibly understand the rough terrain of someone else's life until you have actually put on their footwear and felt where the blister.
It is a great reminder that our perspective is always limited.
It is. It is not just telling you to think about them. It is demanding that you mentally inhabit their physical position.
I honestly think that is one of the most important idioms in the entire English language.
I agree completely. It forces a necessary shift in perspective.
All right, we are heading into the home stretch here. We have one final section. Section 5, the oddballs.
The misfits of the dictionary.
Exactly. These are the idioms from our 701 to 800 stack that just didn't fit neatly into work or danger or emotion, but they're absolutely essential to know. They mostly deal with speed, time, and some just very weird historical imagery.
Let's do it. I love the weird ones.
Let's talk about speed first. We have number 706, quick on the draw, and we have number 724, shoot from the hip. Both of these are gun metaphors from the American Wild West, right?
They are, but they represent crucial opposites in how we view. Quick on the draw is a massive commitment. It means you have incredibly fast reflexes. You see a problem and you react instantly. You are sharp. You get your gun out of the holster before the other guy even moves.
And shoot from the hip.
That is almost always a criticism. If you shoot a heavy gun right from your hip, you are not aiming. You are not using the sights at all. You are just firing blindly and hoping you hit something.
So it means being impulsive.
Exactly. In modern conversation, it means speaking or acting without thinking about the consequences. It is reckless speed.
So the lesson is, you want to be quick on the draw, but you definitely don't want to shoot from the hip.
Right. You want the speed, but not at the cost of your accuracy.
Speed in commerce gives us number 720, sell like hotcakes.
Which means selling incredibly fast, flying off the shelves.
I have always wondered about this one. Why hotcakes? Were pancakes really the most high-demand item in human history?
In the American frontier in the 19th century, absolutely yes.
Really?
Yes. Cornmeal pancakes were incredibly cheap. They were extremely fast to make. And at big public gatherings like church bake sales or county fairs, they were often the only hot food available. So they would sell out instantly because everyone was hungry and they cost pennies.
So it is just a basic supply and demand thing.
Pure economics of the 1800s.
Now, if you want to sell those hotcakes and make money, you need to do number 746, strike while the iron is hot.
Blacksmithing. You can only shape strong metal when it is glowing red hot in the forge. The exact moment it cools down, it hardens and becomes completely unmovable.
So it means the opportunity is very temporary.
You must act right now. The window of opportunity is actively closing.
But, sometimes acting immediately is the wrong move. Sometimes you actually need to do number 731. Sleep on it.
The perfect antidote to impulsive action. Don't make the decision right now. Sleep on it. It acknowledges something scientifically, which is that the subconscious brain continues to process complex information while we are asleep. You wake up the next morning with sudden clarity. It is a plea for patience. It suggests that time itself is a reliable problem.
Finally, let's hit the really weird imagery, the ones that make language learners just stop and say, "Excuse me, what did you just say?"
My favorites.
Number 707. Rain, cats, and dogs.
The absolute classic. It just means heavy, chaotic, torrential rain.
But do we actually know why we involve pets in the weather?
There are so many wild theories about this. Some people say that in Old England, stray animals would hide in the thick thatched roofs of houses. And when it rained really hard, the roof would get slippery and the animals would literally fall out of the ceiling.
That sounds completely fake.
It probably is. Others say it comes from Norse mythology, where Odin's dogs represented the howling wind and witches' cats represented the heavy rain.
That is slightly more poetic.
It is, but honestly, the most likely explanation is just auditory. A really loud, violent thunderstorm sounds exactly like a vicious fight between a cat and a dog.
I actually like the thatch roof theory better. It is much funnier.
It is definitely funnier. It creates a great slapstick image in your head.
Speaking of loud noises, number 703. Put a sock in it.
This is rude. Very, very rude. It is a highly informal way to tell someone to shut up.
But why a sock?
Think about the old gramophone, the very early record players with the giant metal horns.
Yeah?
They didn't have volume knobs back then. So if the music was playing too loud in the parlor, you would literally take a thick wool sock and stuff it right into the horn to mechanically muffle the sound waves.
No way. That is brilliant.
It is true. So when you angrily tell someone to put a sock in it, you are literally telling them to dampen their noise volume mechanically. You are treating their human mouth like it is a noisy, annoying machine.
I am definitely going to think of a gramophone every time I hear that now. Okay, number 762. The real McCoy.
Authenticity. This isn't a cheap knockoff. It is the real McCoy.
Who exactly was McCoy?
Again, we have competing historical stories here. But the strongest and most respected one is about Elijah McCoy. He was a brilliant Canadian-American inventor in the 19th century.
What did he invent?
He created a highly advanced automatic lubrication system for heavy steam engines. It was incredibly important for trains. And his specific invention was so vastly superior to everything else on the market that train engineers refused to use the cheap copies.
They wanted his brand.
Exactly. They would look at the engine and specifically ask, is this the real McCoy? They demanded the genuine, high-quality article.
A lasting tribute to engineering excellence. I really love that. And lastly, my absolute favorite origin story on this entire list. Number 740. Steal someone's thunder.
The ultimate drama. Today, as we know, it means to take credit for someone else's act, or to ruin their big moment by announcing your own news first.
Like, I was going to announce my engagement at dinner, but my sister stole my thunder by announcing she was pregnant.
Exactly. It deflates your big moment. But the origin of this phrase is completely literal.
Take us back.
We go back to 1704. A playwright named John Dennis wrote a play called Appius in Virginia. Now, for this specific production, Dennis invented a brand new revolutionary theatrical machine to create the incredibly realistic sound of thunder.
A literal thunder machine.
Yes. It involved sheets of heavy metal rolling wooden balls. It was incredibly loud and impressive. The play itself, however, was terrible. It was a massive flop, and the theater closed it almost immediately.
Ouch.
But here's the twist. A few weeks later, John Dennis goes to the exact same theater to see a production of Shakespeare's Macbeth. And during the famous witches scene, he suddenly hears his own thunder machine being used.
Oh no, they took his invention.
They did. And Dennis stood up right in the middle of the audience and screamed, and this is a recorded historical quote, "Damn them! They will not let my play run, but they steal my thunder."
That is just incredible. An angry playwright's public tantrum from 1704 is still being used in corporate boardrooms in 2026.
That is the amazing sticking power of a truly good story.
So we have covered the list. We have seen the saw pits, the boxing rings, the blacksmith forges, and the angry playwrights. What is the big overarching takeaway here for someone trying to master these?
I think the main takeaway is that the English language isn't just a sterile code for exchanging data. It is a living museum. When you use these idioms, you are directly tapping into the history of how ordinary people lived, how they worked, and how they fought.
And on a practical level.
Practically speaking, it is all about precision of emotion. If you just say, I am busy, that is totally vague. It means nothing. But if you say, I am under the gun, I instantly know exactly how your stomach fit.
Right.
If you say, he tricked me, it falls flat. But if you say, he pulled the wool over my eyes, I see the act of blindness.
It really moves you from textbook English to living English.
Precisely. And my main advice to the listener today, do not sit down and try to memorize idioms 701 to 800 in alphabetical or numerical order. That is incredibly boring, and it won't work.
What should they do instead?
Do what we did today. Group them by emotion or situation. Think to yourself, okay, how do I describe feeling angry? And then rub the wrong way, stir up trouble, and tear your hair out as a connected set. The emotional context is the glue that makes them stick in your memory.
I love that advice. And I want to leave everyone listening with one final thought from our list. It is number 797. What goes around comes around.
Karma.
Karma. Basic cause and effect. But I actually think it applies perfectly to learning language, too. The process is circular. If you invest the time to really understand the deep roots of these phrases, if you truly sink your teeth into them, the language will give back to you.
It rewards the effort.
Yes. You will stop sounding rough around the edges, which is number 713, and you will become a smooth operator, number 733.
Beautifully said. You really wove those in perfectly.
Thank you. I try. So to everyone listening, don't just memorize. Visualize the history. Keep your ear to the ground for these phrases in the wild. Stay curious. And thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It was a pleasure. See you next time.
Bye for now.